Welcome to today's webinar, Keeping Your Course Relevant, Lessons from 15 Years of Marketing Evolution. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Paul Cotter. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at Stukent, and I'm thrilled to be hosting today's event. As we begin, I want to encourage you to use the chat feature. Go ahead and start out right now. Tell us where you're watching from today. Tell us which school you teach at. We would love to hear that. If you have any questions throughout today's event, go ahead and enter it in the chat. We have an amazing team standing by in real time to answer your questions. So it looks like David is joining us from Chicago, Deborah from the University at Buffalo, Edgar from eGade Business School. Thanks everyone for joining us. Tom from the University of Texas at San Antonio, Heather from Oklahoma. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you with us today. As we get started, we want to make you aware of additional webinars that we're hosting very soon. Here are a few of our upcoming sessions. We have 6 engaging real-world projects for the accounting classroom, instructional design strategies in higher education, how EdTech and institutions can work together, and we have from campus to career, what sales employers are looking for. So be sure to click the link at the bottom of your screen to learn more about these events and register for any of the upcoming events that you want. Just looking over here again, welcome Henry, welcome Victoria, Sebastian, thank you everyone for joining us today. If you can't stick around for all of today's presentation, don't worry. We will share the recording with you along with any handouts that are talked about during today's event. We will also have a live Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. So this goes without saying, but please be respectful and polite in all your commenting today. Now on your screen right now, you will see a few of our marketing Simternships and courseware. As a special gift to each one of you for joining us today, we want to give you free instructor access to our marketing Simternship and courseware bundles. Each of these bundles is a comprehensive package that features more than 100 student and instructor resources, including our groundbreaking simulations and our annually updated courseware. It also has a wealth of engaging assignments, lesson plans, sample syllabuses, and even auto-graded quizzes and assignments. Everything in our bundles is designed to seamlessly integrate theory with real-world experience and equip your students with the skills and confidence they need for success in marketing. So go ahead and click the link to learn more about how you can get free instructor access to any of these marketing courseware and Simternships. Now, while you're doing that, I want to take a moment to introduce you to today's speaker. So I want to invite Wendy Grattereau to the stage. Wendy instructs and certifies undergraduate and graduate students in marketing management, strategy, social media, and digital marketing at the University of Texas, San Antonio. Her work and curriculum integrate cutting-edge marketing strategies with established business principles. Students attribute her courses to helping them start careers at Google, Facebook, Disney, Kellogg, Oracle, IBM, Tesla, Amazon, and other top organizations. Wendy is the AMA faculty advisor at her university and contributes to community organizations like the YMCA and Autism Speaks. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to hop off stage. I'm going to turn the time over to you right now.
Okay, great. And welcome everybody. I know that you're likely a professor just like me, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. There were just a lot of things that I've seen go on, and I thought maybe you guys could relate to some of the issues when trying to source updated marketing materials, whether it's courseware, books, assignments, different types of things. It's like, what do we put that importance on? And we were talking about it and decided maybe this is a good topic to discuss with other people. So if you wanted to contribute in the chat, any of your biggest challenges that you're facing, if you're teaching a large class and you're trying to engage them, if you're trying to help students find careers, meaningful careers after they graduate, things that you're doing with online classes, any of your biggest questions or concerns, I'll try to assist in anything that I might have done well or failed at to maybe help you not make some of the same mistakes or do some things that I found won with me. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I was trying to present, I hit the wrong button. I'm gonna go ahead and present the presentation. Okay. Oh, wrong one. Saying the screen share has failed. I don't know what's happening. Okay, let me try this other way. I'll have to do it live. Is that good? Okay, cool. Okay, so revving up the relevance of our marketing course, 15 years of marketing. So hopefully you get a few nuggets from today. I'm here just to help you brainstorm some ideas that I've tested, again, the successes or failures, and any format that you might be teaching in. Hopefully I can help you with some ideas of how to implement real world tools, resources, or course boosts into your course. So the biggest thing is looking at career shifts and industry trends, and then other reasons why I had struggled to incorporate new materials into my courses, and then some tools and ideas that might be helpful, and then of course Q&A. I mean, we all know this, what was marketing of the past versus marketing of today. Like, this is common knowledge, no surprises with, at least on a conscious level, what marketing of yesterday were with the channels, the tools, the types of media versus today. One of the things I found was really alarming or shocking was the jobs that even I associate with, and I do this in my real world. So I currently do consult with live companies, large enterprising organizations, or smaller organizations that are looking to launch new products or services, or looking at things in a different way. And when I looked at the job titles of today, and I said, how in demand or how popular are these? So grabbed a lot of data from LinkedIn and Indeed. And over the last 15 years, just seeing how the careers have shifted so drastically was an eye-opening moment for me. Things that used to be called like media buyer or ad executive have been replaced with maybe paid advertising, coordinator or director or digital marketing, right? So those job titles have shifted in a lot of the ways in the growing sectors. And I realized like we were struggling to produce people that had some of the relevant skills to fill those jobs. They weren't really coming out with a lot of the hands-on experience that was needed to secure those type of employment. So there's two things, right? We have the industry and we have skills that are what people are looking for when they're looking for complementing and rounding out their team. So are these students getting the skills? I think they're getting, definitely, you guys are doing an incredible job at trying to incorporate and get them as much skill as possible within our marketing skill domain, right? So we're trying to incorporate as much as we can, even with all the shifts that have been happening within our practice. It has been a lot, right? Like trying to get them those hands-on skills or even some theory or knowledge within our domain. But one of the other things is this acknowledgement or, looking at how industry has completely changed everything. So if we're preparing jobs with or students for jobs with the right skills, but they're not understanding how to do it for the right industries that are growing and in demand, like what is the point if organizations and industry are weighing those so much heavier? So this is one of the things that I think that is not talked about a lot. So I don't know if you could see this. You probably can't hear the sound, but watch the visual for the few seconds. So see where we were from the start to the end. And I mean, education, I don't know why I keep saying that, sorry. I'm gonna try to pause it. Okay. So education and health services, professional business services, even retail has been able to stay and continue to be relevant. Leisure and hospitality, and then manufacturing has dropped significantly. So when I was going through the course in the text, I was looking at how the overemphasis on certain industries were not updated as well. So if I was to get students prepared and thinking about those jobs, we weren't using the right language. And I found that really problematic because the students weren't talking the same language, even if they had the same skills, and they could have considerably helped companies and organizations, but they didn't know how to articulate it in the language that was understood in those new industries that are up and coming. So I didn't really even realize that this was happening. I know we talk about like the evolution of the internet, and we talk about a lot of other evolutions. Maybe you guys knew a little bit more than I did in this stage, but we're starting to mature in this the fourth stage of the industrial revolution. If you see here, right, we have added some content maybe within our courseware and maybe alluded to the digitization, and you've seen digital marketing. Maybe you have a segment on social media within your book. But are we still stuck in the age of automation? Do we still speak to that language that was being used when we were manufacturing widgets? Are we able to understand and comprehend like the other non-tangible or even different types of tangible, maybe tangible with tech? So consumer packaged goods as well as maybe consumer electronics, right? So what is the evolution of that, and what are the growing sectors, and are we doing everything we can to help prepare our students? So maybe you have some awesome courseware or texts or supplements to yours. And I know that there's things that are tried and true. And there's principles that we use no matter what tools and resources we're implementing. We just rebrand some of these names. I get it. But maybe we have to update the language. Maybe we do have to explain the nuances. But here's some of the key reasons. And I'd love to hear your feedback on any of these. Either now or when we finish this. So rapid technology advancements, yeah, we all got that, right? We know that these are big. Wearables, voice. So voice search is popping up to be a really big thing. And having alternative descriptions for different types of media is becoming to be huge in order for you to even show up as one of the options for somebody to consider. So I think that not only is this happening for industry growing, and if you're going to work and look for sections that are growing, these would be great. AI, search optimization is also a thing. Gaming, metaverse, and no-code platforms. So if somebody's going to launch new tech, or they're working at a startup, or they're working at a division at a more established company, you don't have to code things from scratch. You don't have to hire a team of developers anymore. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. There are many emerging channels, right? So we talk about them, but what's deeper than that? I think that even the gaming industry is understood, right? We don't fully comprehend it. Let's take a company like Roblox. So there's two sides of this. You could look at Roblox as a booming 80 million daily active users are on this platform. Their market cap is, I think, about 26 billion right now. And 40% of those users are between 17 to 25 years old. So how are they going to monetize this platform to continue to grow? There's also an advertising component to it. So if I was an organization and my target was 17 to 25 plus year olds, and I wanted to leverage like a 80 million daily active user platform where there was a lot of those, right? So we're talking like 30 million people. It's cheap to advertise on those platforms. You have a captive audience, and they now have integrated marketing experiences that they're testing out with Amazon and Walmart, but it's not in a traditional like paid, like interruption marketing way. So they're using things like billboards as part of these experiences, or an upgraded boost within a game, so that the people that are playing these games feel not interrupted, that they can stay and enjoy and stay on the platform. So a lot of those trends are really fascinating. We're getting the channels down. I think that all of us understand the channels, but how are we getting an ROI on these channels? And I think I've seen a lot of people, even still organizations, are struggling themselves to understand how to get that actual content to be engaged with, right? Like putting like buy now social media posts every week is not going to convert to your revenue, right? So how can they make more engaging content, even if it is video content? Like, how do we execute that in a thoughtful way? So this is something that I've seen is like, okay, how do we take it up a notch and let students understand that it's not enough just to create like a social post. It's not enough to create a video and not use it. I've done a lot of digital audits, and I think one of the most underused things is their video content that they spent a lot of money on producing, but didn't even know how to use that or leverage it through different channels. The power of the consumer. I think this is a big mind shift, not just for us. I mean, it's a really overwhelming when you're working with a brand, and then the consumer finally gets a voice and they voice their concerns and their dislike of products and services. But it's more than that, right? We're talking about how we can actually use digital platforms and feedback forums for more than that. We could use it for free research, right? And how do we tap into that? And instead of fighting our consumers, maybe powering with them, surveying them, using that, and not being ignorant to the fact that there's discussions going on about brands, tools on other forums that are going to impact you. So they're going around searching and they take those things to heart. So for an example, when you're shopping or looking for something, it's not just the review that we read. We go directly to the comment section. Even in those social posts or in those ads, people go into the comment section, into those threads, and then they see, is the brand engaging? How do they engage? What are people actually saying? Are these reviews even legitimate? So those are a lot of the concerns that consumers have. Do we take it that step further? So are we understanding how to work with consumers that actually have a visible voice instead of just deleting all those comments? How can we leverage this into maybe a way to further explain our product or services? So these are some of the other things that I think we could do better. The science of campaign management, sound, very good science. And this is where we need to start connecting our marketing science with these new channels, our new media types and new strategies, and bringing them into new industries. So with the tech sector booming, there was such a demand, and there's a lot of people running tech organizations that maybe don't have traditional education. So they might not understand that there are scientific methods and proven processes to do the 7 to 10 touch points on that customer journey. So is all these channels working together as a whole? It's not, oh, I launch one ad and I'm going to get all this revenue. There's proven science to back this up, and this is how we're doing this today. And you just need to take this strategy and then you leverage maybe more channels you put into your mix and more media types and additional strategies. And how do those all work together? I still see a lot of people not understanding like campaign management and the importance of getting somebody on this customer journey and helping to nurture them, not just through purchase, but also to get that genuine excitement for that customer advocacy. Because then that's that free advertising, that awesome review at the end. I've also had to create some of my own case studies. I don't know if you've also had this struggle, and using maybe older case studies as a foundation, maybe rebranding them, trying to update the data or the analytics so that these are really relevant and can connect and excite the students. I think when they can use the right language, when they're interviewing or they're working at an organization, how much more powerful it is, how much quicker they could get their point across if our case studies are just a little bit more updated or relevant. So it can be really hard to get this one. I understand the struggle, the constraints, and finding these case studies, and maybe you guys can relate to me as well. Privacy and regulatory changes. So, this has been a big thing. Not only are there the privacy concerns that have helped consumers to a degree, but it also then has constricted data to only those big corporations now. So, Apple is very generous with, not allowing our privacy or information to get out, but they do have it and they use it, right? So it's not that it's not available, it's just now they have full domain on that. So how do we change with that? How do we change with no cookie in the future and not getting that feedback or that data at the same level we were used to, right? And in addition to that, what other compliance is there? So Google just went over a huge platform change with the rapid changes in streaming. Do people understand the regulatory landscape of the FCC? Because that's still broadcast television to a degree. Is it going to be regulated the same? Are we going to put our channel in jeopardy because we're not playing by the rules of regulatory or the platform rules? Are we transparent? Do we provide the right documentation? Are we managing that platform in a proactive way to keep it healthy? I don't think a lot of people understand the dangers. So if there's a channel that's working really well in your customer journey and you don't allocate enough resources to maintaining its compliance and its health, then that channel can collapse. And it would be really hard to bring a channel back that was once working for you really well. I see a lot of people not understanding how important it is to keep your channels healthy in compliance and, and allocate the right resources that people are dedicated to ensuring that that's happening. So here's just something interesting with all these changes, right? So our students are going through all these awesome courses that we're giving them. We're giving them all these supplements. Another thing that they come back to me with, and I don't know if you've also had this, but how do they get these changes implemented? Like, is there any way we can provide tools, language, strategies? I've noticed that the level of reporting, right? They're really smart. And I think a lot of us suffer from this, where we know data and we think everybody else understands the data that we're looking at. But how do we do these data-driven visuals? How do we report things so that anybody can comprehend or understand these strategies, the importance of them, so we can get away from over-reliance on the things that used to work, or those things from the past, and focus better on today, and so that they can justify their marketing strategies of today and stay successfully, gainfully employed and do great work, right? So are there tools that we can get them to overcome some of these objections and to implement like these more current, relevant marketing strategies, campaigns, and programs? All right, so here's where I came up with some ideas that I've tried. I would love to know if you've done some of these. In that first slide, or one of the early slides, how we talked about the different jobs. And I did it successfully in one of my courses, even an online course. And I kept this assignment and I love it. And it's where they go and they look for a few of their dream jobs. And I give them some videos to watch of different types of opportunities that they can actually have in this space to get them really excited about it. And I found an incredible amount of excitement comes of when I introduced this in the beginning of the course. So I thought that was a really fun course boost or supplement if you're open to looking into that. I do a lot of like audit assignments in different classes as well. So let's look at something critically, and you can do this in group work. I think they get a really big kick out of that. It gives them a chance to like think and discuss and analyze something. So we either look at a brand, or we look at like content. We look at different ways that companies are executing things. There's also ways that you can get some data off of tools that we can use. And then you give them those ideas so they can then create an audit and maybe do a presentation if your course can allow for that. A lot of our bigger courses might not be so conducive to things like this, but there potentially could be some ways that you can implement this either online, in discussion boards, or other ways. There are the SWOT, right? And I'm going to show you that. That's also a really cool way for them to maybe even do a self-assessment, SWOT an industry, like what industries are growing, where do they want to go into, where's the jobs? And I think a lot of students come in thinking they just want to get a job at like a big local company. And when you show them so many more things that are available to them, so they don't only count on getting that one job, that they see that their self-worth isn't just tied to them going to college and applying to that one big company, that they can see that they can apply their skills and knowledge and bring a lot to a lot of different types of organizations that need them and need those skills. So those mini projects with real clients, of course, we're here with Stukent today. So I love their simulations. They've really changed how I've been able to teach some of the digital marketing courses where you can't really get that on the job experience without that, right? We have industry trends reports, and where they can go and they can look at those industries and then do that SWOT, or you can bring in guests and have them do not just a presentation, why not a workshop, right? And I think those become a little bit more interactive and fun. So I broke down those elements a little more, like supplemental assignments. If you wanted to start a little smaller, just having them do those research trends. And then, the guest workshop and presentations, I actually have a little slide that gives you a type of a script that I've used in a way that I've done this that has worked really well. I've done this over the last few years and iterated it a lot, and I think I have it down pretty well, but I'd love if you guys have other ideas or, ways that you've done it that also have worked for you. Obviously, projects and simulations through the course, but maybe instead of just a one-off assignment, maybe there's something that takes you as a theme throughout the course. That's why I do love the Sims, because it's this consistent point of discussion that brings up really amazing topics for us to discuss in class. So if there's a way to introduce maybe something a little bit longer term throughout the course, working towards that would be probably a really interesting way to keep your classes engaged. Here's an example of fun SWOT analysis. Obviously be internal, external, and what are the issues or things that they're seeing in the marketplace, and getting them really used to presenting this, because that is a twofold. They can do some research for their own benefit and understand more industries, but then they can also do this research because it'll provide actually a case or report when they're working in the industry. So actually producing it. And I've noticed a lot of times we talk about these things, but they don't know how to do them. So I think just giving them a little bit more, that one more step where they can actually put something together has been really helpful. And then here is my sample guest speaker request. So this has been pretty helpful. I'll post this in my channels. I'll message people and they pass it around. Sometimes we get inbound inquiries, and I'm sure you do too, where people are looking to speak to your classes. This is something that you can send to them. And if you're open to seeing what other topics that they have, you could put things that correspond with when you're going through your modules or the sections of your course or topics, or ask them what would they be the most interested in presenting. I've used Google Forms, or there's another form that you have. I think there's one now that we have through Microsoft where you could collect that info. I have them upload a headshot, or I go grab it from LinkedIn, and then I do a hype card, right? Something to really get the students excited, even though it's required to come. But I want them really pumped to come and hear this guest speaker to speak, or the workshop, and to be a part of that, so that that excitement that they bring into it is a different level, right? So I do like to do those promo or hype flyers for those speakers to share. So that, I would hope that we would have a little bit of discussion. So I kind of wanted to prompt you with a lot of things to see if there's any of these that might be of benefit to you, if you want to talk about a little bit more of these assignments. But I would love to connect with you if you're interested. Here's the courses that I teach, and if you wanted to connect with me and ask me questions even later, I'd love to chat with you.
Wendy, this is awesome. Thank you so much. This is great to hear all your insights that you shared today. We do have a couple of questions that were pre-submitted that I will go over while we're waiting to see if anyone in the chat enters any that way. One of the questions is, how have you adapted your teaching methods to accommodate the rapid changes in the marketing landscape? And I think you talked a little bit about that with your extra little boosts you had there, but anything more you'd like to say about that?
I think that it's easy to test in person in a normal class size, not a huge class. So you can test these things in your smaller classes. But when you have a large class, or you have an online or hybrid class, some adapting the concept that you're trying to get across can be really tricky. So that research job assignment, it started as an in-class. I gave I showed the videos and then had them look up some jobs and then submit that for their credit for in class. And I was like, well, this could easily be adopted as an assignment online. Another iteration would potentially be discussions, or where you could take that into a more engaging way online. Like, what was your biggest aha moment? Share that with others and see if they also had that aha moment with you. I think it was the adoption, or like thinking of creative ways to get maybe multiple objectives accomplished with these little course boosts.
Great. Another question that we had is about student adaptability. Do you have suggestions of how you can prepare students to be adaptable in this evolving landscape?
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse with us in marketing, because you have, we have job security because it's it's changing all the time, but because it's changing all the time, you have to keep up with it, right? And making sure that they're okay with that, or at least if they're not going to be in marketing, and the importance of marketing in your organization, right? And they understand that is an agile department. It can't be stagnant. It has to stay competitive. It is the edge of the organization. It's the revenue generator. So how are they going to continue to adapt to those industry changes? They need to look at those industries, see what's moving, what is the new technology, can that be applied to my organization, and just encouraging them that these are the things that they're going to have to look out for. And that's why I like these little course boosts too, because it kind of exposes them to that, so they don't get into that, oh, I got this job and I'm going to be here forever type of mentality. Because the reality is, in marketing, that is definitely not true. We have the biggest turnover of any of the business disciplines. And CMOs have the highest, like, I think it's like our tenure like less than 2 years in a lot of cases. And that's the lowest of any of the disciplines by a considerable amount.
Interesting. David is asking if you have any suggestions what to do in a class when you have students that are at different levels of understanding.
Yeah, this is a great question. So depending on how big your class is, if you can break them up, what I have is like leaders within the group, like the ones that I feel like are the more like understanding, and they can co-lead maybe some group discussions, to where the students that have less level of understanding will feel a little bit more comfortable with a peer, asking questions than they do in front of the whole class. So I found that helps. And I also do temperature check, right? And I try to see how many of them know these concepts in the beginning. Are they picking up on it throughout? Like, and I'll do these interactive assignments where they have to like provide things on the board or submit something, just like no points weighted, just real quick temperature checks. And then if I feel like there's still a considerable amount of the course that isn't getting it, I'm like, you know what, let's get down to the fundamentals and let's get everybody on the same page. And so we just bring it down a notch, and we just make sure that everybody, even though they nod and think that they know a SWOT, you have to go through it, right? And I think making sure that everybody really gets what is the internal versus the external. I think a lot of people struggle with that, even if they kind of understand the concept.
Great, thank you. Henry is asking, can you talk a little about updating your business cases and how you use them and integrate along with all the other tools like the simulations?
So I like to do business cases in as like add-on assignments throughout the course. So they can go along with, and maybe if the simulation is going to cover a certain segment or topic, you can have those business cases kind of on theme with that. When I do use existing business cases, but in some cases I've had to create them from scratch and just created like scenarios because there wasn't anything even remotely relevant that was usable to use. So I have some that I use in social media marketing where I just had to, do like a channel analysis and make up data because there was no other way for me to provide anything even relevant. And that takes a little more work, but once you create it and you kind of refine it and test it out, you have it for a while and you can just update your own case, which I found very empowering, and it helps from semester to semester. And the students get a little more excited because the language they practice using that language. They practice doing a business format. And I think that they feel a lot more engaged with your course if you could try to get a case that is somewhat relevant.
Great. What are the key skills and competencies that you think marketing graduates need to be successful in today's job market?
They definitely have to have a knowledge of, not just knowledge, but not of the channel or the platforms and channels like the digital, but they need to understand how they work together and how to do them well. And that, I think, has been a big struggle. And then if they do have some concept of that, how do they articulate it to a lot of people that don't get it at all? And that's the biggest growing jobs, like, you know, those students getting those skills, they're the biggest demand. But I also found that organizations hiring them aren't ready for the things that are being proposed, right? So the students know what they have to do because they maybe took our classes or something, and they're trying to implement a strategy that would actually work, but the organization isn't ready. So how do they get them ready? Those communication skills, those presentation skills are also one of the things that they need to focus on.
Great. What role do you see internships and experiential learning playing in preparing students for the marketing workforce?
So you have to have some kind of application of concept, or else it's just going to be memorization and gone, right? And we have to have memorization because we have to talk the language. So making sure we have that language foundation is, of course, we have to do that. Make sure they have some kind of science foundation so they can go with all the trends. Because you could apply the same science to all the new stuff. It's just, you have to give them that foundation. But then how do you start to apply it? And that's why I think these like little course supplements or boosts, if you could think of creative ways to keep your assignments like really updated, it gives them a little bit of hands-on tactical experience so they can taste and feel what it's like before they get out there, and they can see, do I even like this? A lot of people find their spark and their like passion because of these hands-on assignments, or they really know what they don't want to do. So it's very helpful because they also see how much work goes into something. So even if we aren't going to be like in digital or social, or we're going to be like maybe more brand or sales, to understand like what that takes and the amount of resources to do it well, I think it's a very powerful learning experience as well. So they can articulate it and they can leverage it for their benefit.
Great. Tom has a two-part question here. Have you found that marketing faculty lack current marketing industry knowledge or understanding of what new employees need? And the second part is, what do you recommend to those marketing faculty who are lacking this knowledge?
Yeah, I think that's why I love a good mix of faculty. If you're lucky enough to be in a department that has a good mix of like more traditional PhD professors that are research driven, and then you have a mix of practice professors. It's such a great symbiotic relationship where you can, you know, really understand foundational science and, you know, the importance of that, as well as like what's going on in the marketplace, right? So blending that is great. So I think facilitating some of those engagements is helpful. And then also, I think having good resources or thought leaders in those spaces that you trust. So there are a few that I follow. There's professors I follow that do, you know, have a lot of information about how to keep their courses updated. There's marketing leaders that I follow. And, you know, like you might not love all the stuff they're doing, but they do bring up really interesting topics. So there's, I know Professor Galloway, he's really interesting. I like to see what he's up to and his opinions on things. That doesn't mean I always agree, but I love to see the discussion. And then I like Neil Patel. I like, of course, Gary Vanderchuck as well. So he does a lot in this space.
Great. We have another question here. What do you foresee as the most significant challenges facing marketing educators in the next 5 years?
I think it's a lot. If I didn't work in the space and have these real problems being asked, I don't know how I would have insight sometimes, right? So I think us continually trying to stay up to date, especially with the advent of AI, automation, like where is this taking us with both sides, industry? And if so, are our students going to work there, or are they going to leverage these tools for their success of their brands and their businesses? So I think us being very cognizant of, we're still not through this big shift, right? We're still in this huge evolution. And I feel like we're right in the middle of it still, which is, again, good and bad, but it is going to be a lot asked of us. And we are being probably judged more harshly than maybe other departments that have to have this every, so often. I'm not saying that their laws and things don't change, or their formulas or strategies don't change, but at the rate ours is changing, I would say that a lot of people would acknowledge that we are in a very rapid changing environment in marketing than other business practices.
For sure. Tom?
So, marketing workshops, is
yes.
that one? Okay, yeah. So those, I would love to have those open. So you could do those in two ways. If there's a way to reserve, if you think a lot of people would be interested in going, you could try to get maybe a larger space and invite faculty, right, and their students to come and join you. I think that that's a great way to get that cross relationship. Maybe even have a virtual, or film it and have that distributed as well. And those students are, I think you can open it if you can find space, but having them in your class, that you got that captive audience, you have that space. I do like to open them up when I'm able to, though.
Well, Wendy, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today. This is great. Learned a lot of good things. Appreciate your time and your preparation.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. As a reminder, don't forget to request your free instructor access to our marketing courseware and Simternship bundles. Also, at Stukent, we host many virtual events throughout the year, and we're always looking to partner with educators to share their new insights for business marketing and communication professors. And just like Wendy has her sample speaker for her classroom, we have the same thing. If you enjoyed this event and you would like to speak, apply to speak at one of our future events, go ahead and click on your screen right now, and you can fill out our application to speak at a future webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, once again for joining us today and for your participation in the chat. We had a lot of great questions. We appreciate your continued support. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and remember to stay current with Stukent.